The four evangelists walk into a bar, and the bartender says, I can never tell you guys apart in paintings. And the four evangelists say, yeah, there should really be a YouTube video on how to do that.
Anywhere you look in a cathedral, there's a horde of holy humans staring back at you. Mostly Jesus, a bunch of Marys, and more saints than you can shake a stick at. But keep an eye out for the squad who literally wrote the book on Christianity.
They are the four evangelists, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Their writings mark the point where the Bible splits in two between pre-Jesus Old Testament and post-Jesus New Testament. These books are known as the Four Gospels. They all have a slightly different take on covering Jesus' life, so each evangelist gets a special symbol based on their style.
Before we jump into the identifications, here are some things to keep in mind. 1. The evangelists may be shown next to or floating around Jesus. However, Luke and Mark weren't around in those days, so the side-by-side images are, like most things in religious art, meant to imply connection, not literal representation.
2. Are you looking at the evangelists or the apostles? The apostles, also known as the 12 disciples, followed Jesus around for his shenanigans. Just to confuse matters, Matthew and Luke actually belong to both groups. Best way to tell the evangelists and the apostles apart? Start counting. A group of 4 is likely the evangelists, whereas the 12 apostles usually roll out with everyone. Also, if you can spot a lion, ox, eagle, and an angel in the picture, congrats! You've just found the 4 symbols of the evangelists.
First, let's take a look at Matthew. He is often depicted as a winged man, due to the fact that he's the only one who wrote about an angel appearing to Joseph, Jesus' daddy on earth. His book also dealt with the family tree of Jesus, and artists latched onto the human element. The genealogy is like a history of man, thus the winged man. Sorry, Matthew, no cool animal sidekick for you.
Mark gets the coolest symbol of the 4 evangelists, a winged lion. That's because his gospel contains a unique passage about John the Baptist roaring like a, you guessed it, lion. He also talks about the royal dignity of Jesus, what with him being king of the Jews and all, and lions have been associated with royalty since basically forever. So the symbolism works on 2 levels.
Luke is often shown as an ox, sometimes even with wings. There's a pattern here with the wings. Oxen were commonly used as sacrificial animals in the Old Testament days, besides being beasts of burden. Luke wrote rather extensively about how Jesus was a sacrifice for everyone. Thus, he becomes the sacrificial flying ox.
Finally, there is John. John is depicted as a giant bird, usually an eagle. He talks about the ascension, or Jesus rising back to heaven like a giant bird.
If there's no animals in sight, look instead for the 4 guys holding books. Since they wrote the books on Jesus, they're often shown posing with their written work. They are also given very prominent positions in cathedrals and paintings. In fact, look around for the 4 main pillars around the very center of a cathedral. Many churches dedicate the 4 main pillars to the 4 evangelists, including the granddaddy of all churches, St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican. Their work literally and figuratively make up the foundation of the church.
No matter what you believe, these 4 men have had a profound impact on society for nearly 2,000 years. They pop up everywhere in art and architecture, from the Middle Ages through today.
And now you'll be able to spot them whenever they do. Thanks for watching, and keep looking up.
Want more art and historical commentary? Check out What's on the Wall, a new and fantastic art blog by Danielle Grega.